What is up, YouTube? I'm Gout874 here, bringing you guys Week 3 of APM's Ubers League. This week we are taking on Jabel, coach of the Nihilegoats. We are both going into this game with a 2-0 record, so after this game one of us will receive our first loss of the season. Now this is the second APM upload of the week. I know it's pretty crazy. I'm doing this because I am changing my schedule around a little bit. For the next 2 months or so, maybe a little bit more, we are going to be uploading PEBA on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, while APM will now be moving to Fridays or Saturdays as opposed to Tuesdays. With this change in uploading, moving up a week really helps because I'm not holding back too many battles in the APM, and I wouldn't fall behind. So because I'm doing this, I can basically be on schedule, which is really helpful. Now to recap what happened last week for you guys, we did defeat George in a very fast battle, and we moved up to 2-0. Obviously we're undefeated, so you could sort of tell by that. And to continue this recap, we have faced Jabel in the past before. We fought him in the regular season of APM, and we did spit off his Talon Flame after a pretty stally battle, and we ended up winning the game because of it. So basically won by hacks. One of my least favorite wins, to be honest, in that season. So hopefully we can beat him again in a little bit more of a cleaner battle. Our matchup in this game is actually really solid. His Ubers are a little bit scary, particularly one is really deadly against my team. But otherwise, his team isn't crazy great against my team, and I'm going to try and hopefully take advantage of that. So let's go and break down my opponent's team. To begin this portion of the team builder, I have to break down my opponent's team. My opponent has a team this week consisting of Groudon, Garantina Origin, Terrakion Z-Moves, Grimmsnarl, Mega Houndoom, Metagross, Porygon 2, Vaporeon, Venusaur that can Dynamax, Rotom Fan, Musharna, and Altagos. Now I expect my opponent to consist of Mega Houndoom, Groudon, Garantina, Metagross, Vaporeon, and Venusaur. He could drop Venusaur or Mega Houndoom depending on if he wants to Mega or Dynamax in this game. And then he could replace that with basically anything on his team really. Probably Porygon 2 or Rotom Fan. But otherwise, that is what I expect my opponent to bring this week. My opponent has 2 Ubers. Let's talk about them. First one is Groudon. Groudon is pretty hard to switch into this week. The good thing about Groudon is that he can't lock himself into one move if he wants to be like a choice on him. He's going to have to run something like Swords Dance or Rock Polish, something like that, which is very scary for my team. Not going to lie, I'm pretty terrified about that overall. But he cannot just click one move, and because I can switch around, like I have a ground switching into like Shaman or Ho-Oh, a rock switching Seismitoad, a grass switching is also Shaman, a fire switching Ho-Oh. You see all that stuff. It's going to be a prediction game for that. And Groudon, well, I can't say I have an easy time offensively beating it because of its speed tier, because Groudon is bulky. I don't have an insanely hard time dealing with it. I just need a little bit amount of chip on Groudon, and then I can offensively revenge it fine. And that is his first Uber. The second Uber, the bigger threat, probably the thing I'm most scared of on his team is the Garantina Origin. This thing is very fat. Ghost and Dragon defensively is surprisingly pretty good against my team. I didn't really struggle with it with Dragapult just because of how frail that thing is. Garantina is very bulky, so that is going to be a really different story. And on this particular build that I have this week, a physical offensive Garantina is very scary as well, just because I have no switch into that. So I have to be careful of both sets, and I'm not sure which one he's going to run. And that is his 2 Ubers, really scary threats. Otherwise, he doesn't really have anything that's immediately scary against my team. I personally think Mega Houndoom is more scarier than Venusaur in this game, at least in Sun. So I could see him bringing Mega Houndoom before Venusaur. I can't really offensively beat that too well. And speaking of offensively beating, Vaporeon could be hard to break down just because I'm not bringing his Circuitry this game. And it just could just wish past into stuff like the Groudon, which would be terrifying. Or even the Garantina. Just that is something I have to be really scared of. So keeping offensive momentum in this game is not going to be easy, but hopefully I can try and keep up momentum in general in this game. This is going to be Shaman's debut this week, and Ho-Oh is just really scary against his team solely because Groudon sets up the Sun, and then Sacred Fire is pretty spammable against my opponent. So I'm going to keep that in mind. And that is this portion of the team builder. What I'm bringing into this game this week consists of Weavile, Mega Scizor, Shaman, Ho-Oh, Clefable, and Seismitoad. To begin our portion of the team builder this week, we are bringing Weavile to start us off. Weavile is making its season debut. We had Sneasel in our APM lower tiers run, which we won the championship for, and now we have Weavile. Weavile has enough speed to outspeed Mega Houndoom. I'm holding the Expert Belt, moves being Icicle Crash, Knockoff, Low Kick, and Ice Shard. I have Ice Shard over Poison Jab just because of Groudon boosted speed and it's low. I have a way to revenge it that way. Weavile is really good late game against my opponent because a lot of his team is either weak to Ice or Dark, particularly knockoff spam. And then Low Kick is just the extra coverage I need for a few of his mons as well. He only has 2.5 switch-ins to this. Grimmsnarl, if it's bulky, can take 2 hits. Vaporeon's always a switch-in, but Vaporeon does not want to lose its leftovers. It'll still be a win for me if I knock that off. And then Mega Houndoom, and Mega Houndoom still takes like 50 to 60 from Low Kick. So if the thing is already chipped down, Weavile can beat that down as well. And that's why Weavile has this insane matchup. I just need chip on a few things because Garantina's bulky enough to live a hit, which is insane. Same with Groudon. They're both bulky enough to take 1 Ice Skull Crash from my Weavile. So I do need chip on both of them. Terrakion needs a little bit of chip for Low Kick to knock it out. I can't stand on Metagross because that has Bullet Punch. So there are still a different amount of variables that stop Weavile from just cleaning my opponent. But it is still really nice to have in this game regardless. And Weavile is the fastest thing barring Scarfers. So I have to scout for that. And Weavile is going to be set to go. That is going to be the first mon on the team. Next up is going to be Mega Scizor. Mega Scizor is max HP with a little bit of defense and some attack. Moves being a U-turn, Bullet Punch, Knockoff, and Roost. To reiterate, Knockoff spam is really good against my opponent. Losing items on them is going to be phenomenal. Bullet Punch is the standard on Mega Scizor, just going to hit a lot of his team super effective, if not just hit them hard with priority. And then U-turn just to pivot around. Scizor can switch into a lot of different things, particularly stuff like the Metagross, the Grimmsnarl, unless it has Fire Punch, Eldegoss, and Porygon 2, stuff like that. So I feel like Scizor is going to have an okay time pivoting around, knocking off items, U-turning, just being a general nuisance to my opponent's team. And that's Mega Scizor's job this week, and just to make sure that Terrakion also doesn't get out of hand because I have Bullet Punch. That is Scizor. Third up, and also making its season debut, is Shaman. Shaman is a defensive set with a decent amount of speed, with the moves Giga Drain, Earth Power, Toxic, and Synthesis. Toxic spam is really going to be important against my opponent because his Cleric is going to be Vaporeon most likely, and forcing Vaporeon to click Heal Bell is going to be really nice. Giga Drain, Earth Power is just kind of whatever. This is mainly here just to switch into stuff like the Groudon's Blades and the like his stall like P2 and Vaporeon, just so I can get a Toxic off. I can Giga Drain the Vaporeon, not Venusaur, and deal with that. This deals with Eldegoss because it doesn't have Toxic, and if I get Toxic by myself, I can just switch out because a Natural Cure, because that is a really good ability in this game. Shaman, again, is also here just to be a really good defensive mon on the team this week, and that is just basically Shaman's job. I do have to be careful with stuff like Mega Houndoom and his just Sun Core running around, because that could be a little bit scary. That is going to be Shaman. Fourth up, we have our mandatory legendary of the week. We have Ho-Oh. This is actually a Spadef pivot with the speed as well, with the boots, moves being a Sacred Fire, Earthquake, a Toxic, and Roost. I really wanted to go an offensive set because the Sun is on my side, but with Vaporeon and a few other mons like P2 being really fat and the Garantina Origin, I felt like Sacred Fire spam wasn't as free. So I decided just to go this route because I still needed a switch into a few of his mons. Particularly the Mega Houndoom is looking really scary to this point. The Garantina if it's special, Venusaur if it's Dynamax. So those are big threats and I don't want to ignore them. So Ho is here to kind of deal with them. Sacred Fire is good. Earthquake is there for something that I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it was Terrakion, just to make me hit that. And then Toxic Roost with, of course, a Generator. I don't have Defog on this team, so I needed the boots as well because he could just throw up rocks with something like Terrakion or Groudon, and I would not have a fun time. That is Ho-Oh. Fifth up is going to be Clefable. This is a really cancer set. We have a pretty defensive one with a little bit of attack. I have Calm Mind, Cosmic Power, Moonblast, Soft Boiled. Now this is just straight up AIDS. I have Magic Guard for any Toxic spam he has. Calm Mind is pretty good, but he does have a decent amount of physical attackers too. Mainly Terrakion, Groudon, and Metagross I'm looking at that can beat my Clefable. And if I can get a Cosmic Power up, I could potentially beat 2 of those. And I have a pretty good matchup against Metagross, even though I do see it coming. I don't think it's going to be that big of a threat against my team. So if I can get down Metagross, like chip down, then Clefable looks really good here. It's not my main win con, but it could be a way to actually beat his team if strong physical attackers are down or something like that, or burned for whatever reason. Then Clefable is really good there. I needed this because this is a way to deal with Vaporeon and P2 from an offensive-ish standpoint, but it's not really offensive, to be honest. But that is Clefable's job, is to make sure I don't get completely stalled out by his defensive core. And Garantina too, of course, obviously. That's Clefable. And then finally we have Seismitoad. This is max HP, max defense with the Rindo. Who's being Stealth Rock, a Toxic, Earthquake, and Grass Knot. I really wanted leftovers on the set, but if the Groudon does decide to run Solar Beam, then I'm kind of screwed. So Rindo Berry does make sure I don't immediately die to that. This is a really good defensive wall. It's a way to somewhat deal with Mega Houndoom if it wants to run HP Rock and not HP Grass. It's a switch into Metagross every time, switch into Rotom Fan, which I don't really have too much of, and then the Vaporeon as well. I did be careful of Toxic, but if I can trade Toxics, then that is not the worst thing in the entire world. And Rocks are really good to just chip down his team because he does not have much recovery on his team outside of the Wish-passing Vaporeon. So I'm going to keep an eye out for that. Toad's not the most important, but it's going to be good on the team here. And that is going to be it for this team builder portion. I'm not sure if I have too much else to say. I do have to be really careful when I'm pivoting around his team, just because Groudon and Garantina are just really scary. Vaporeon Wish Passing could be annoying, all that good stuff. But we're going to head over to Pokemon Showdown now, and we're going to watch the battle. Alright, we have arrived on Pokemon Showdown, as I always say. And there is no Venusaur or Mega Houndoom on my screen. That was really shocking to see. He's not going the Sun route in this game. Weavile and Shaman look amazing in this game as long as I keep them around, so that's going to be my end game here. In regards to the lead, I'm just going to lead off with Toad, just to get Rocks up. Rocks are really good in this game. He does have the Eldegoss, unfortunately, though. Even though it's not that great against my team, it is good against this, so keeping up Rocks might be a hassle in this game, as he just hard switch into Eldegoss here. Expecting them to spin, I am just going to go on the Ho-Oh and try and get some momentum that way, as they actually go for Stun Spore and Paralyze me. That was a really bad play on my part. It was pretty reckless. I could have easily just gone out in the Shaman there. The Ho is not amazing in this matchup, but having a Paralyze is just going to be annoying. Fortunately, I do catch this Garantina on a Toxic. That's going to be really nice because unless this thing has a rest, then this thing is going to be on a timer for the rest of the game, or forcing Vaporeon to heal Bell and all that good stuff. I Sacred Fire, seeing no drawback to it, as Groudon actually comes out, and that is a big turn because I get a meaty 40% off on this Groudon, and I don't burn it, but it was still nice to get that damage off. I do just sack my Ho-Oh here. I don't think that was the greatest play in the entire world, but again, having Ho-Oh is not waste. I am going to, I know what move it's locked into. Unfortunately, because it's locked into Stone Edge, I go into Toad as they can just get a free switch into Eldegoss. And I played it really poorly. I didn't know if it was Scarf or Bandit at the time, so if it is even his choice, so I didn't want to risk my Weavile like that. So that's why I did those series of plays. But looking back at it, that was not the greatest thing in the entire world. Eldegoss is be able to spin here, and I do catch this P2 now with a Toxic, which is pretty nice. So now Garantina and P2 are on a timer. That's pretty good for me. I'm just going to Giga Drain, expecting them to probably switch out as they take nothing from that, and they actually do have the Teleport, so that's good for them. They go out on the Garantina here. I can't touch this thing, but it is on a timer, so that's kind of cool. I'm just going to switch out into my Clefable because it's my dedicated answer to this at this point, and it has Rest. So that sucks quite a lot. This does tell me it's not really the most offensive Garantina, so that's kind of good at least. And I'm looking at his team, and I didn't really realize it at the time, but looking at it right now, Clefable beats 5 of his 6 members, and if I get enough Cosmic Powers up, it beats Groudon too. So that's kind of the go-to at this point. This P2 also has T-Wave, so now I'm getting paralyzed on this Mon too, so that's kind of annoying. As Clefable's paralyzed, now I'm going to get up a Cosmic Power, and now I can live any one hit from Groudon, even if it's banded. So that's pretty cool, and I'm going to fire off a Moonblast as Groudon does come out. So this is still going to do a chunk to me, regardless of if it's banded or not. As you're going to see here, that is hella banded. And I'm going to fire off a Moonblast here. It's probably not going to kill, but it's going to do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, I get paralyzed, and that is really big. This is big because it doesn't put it into Bullet Punch, Ice Shard, or just Revenge range in general. And now Groudon is in here, banded, looking very scary, as I have to take something. Something has to take a hit. It's going to be Shaman. I know it's banded because of that damage. And since Ho-Oh's gone, he can kind of fire off the Precipitous Blades for free. So that really, really sucks a lot. I'm just going to heal up just to stay healthy so I can switch in later. Shaman and Weavile still look good, and Clef does too. I'm just, again, not really noticing it at the time, as Clef can set up on 4 of his members. So, yeah, the Clef is still looking really good in this game, as this Garantina is asleep, so that's just helping me out a lot. I'm just going to fire off a Moonblast just in case like Groudon wants to switch in like it does. And because of the para earlier, this is not going to kill. If I got the hit off earlier, this would have killed on switch in. And if anything else switched in, I could have started setting up perhaps. So not really the greatest scenario. I actually sacked my Clef here, which is a really bad play on my part. Again, at the time, I'm looking at my endgame, and I'm just so tunnel visioned in on Weavile killing everything minus Grimmsnarl and Vaporeon, as Shaman can deal with those two. So I wasn't really too worried at the time, but looking back, that was a really dumb play on my part. Grimmsnarl comes out, I knock off, so like I don't do much, but I do knock off this thing's leftovers. I do have a switch into this. It is Seismitoad. I also have Scizor too, as they just go for Spirit Break. It does a decent chunk. I'm going to just fire off my Rocks back, so Eldegoss is forced to spin as it does. And I'm speeding the process up a bit because this part is a little bit long. It's just a bunch of switching back and forth. This Garantina is going to be a big problem just because my Clefable is gone. As I'm just going to just keep clicking buttons here, getting Toad in. Toad's my main pivot until I kind of scat out more sets. As he makes a double there, I believe, and he Shadow Balls my Toad. That does a lot. I don't have a switch in, so it just goes down. And now I can bring in Weavile and fire off an attack here. As Grimmsnarl comes out, I miss my Ice Skull Crash, so that's all great. Scizor comes out. He has T-Wave on this too. As I'm going to Bullet Punch, it's going to do a lot, and he's going to T-Wave me here. So another Mon on my team gets paralyzed, and he has Rest. I didn't click Bullet Punch this turn. I clicked U-Turn. And guys, at that point, I saw Rest on this Mon. I was like, dude, this game's over, man. So I'm going to I U-Turn on the Weavile, but at this point, guys, spoiler, I'm going to skip ahead to the end because this is a very long battle, and I can't do too much about it. As you're going to see here, I'm down to my Shaman, and we're just going to lose the game. It's very fitting that on this last turn I get paralyzed again. This was not a very good battle for me, to be honest, as we are going to lose 5-0 to my opponent, Jabel, in a pretty long match and a stalling match. So, yikes. GG to my opponent, though. Looking back at it, I never would have thought anything would be more cancer than a Cosmic Power Clefable going into this game. However, 5 of my Mons got paralyzed in this game, 2 of my opponent's Pokemon had Rust Talk, and that doesn't even include the P2 and the Vaporeon there. So, yikes, it's pretty rough, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do to win the game, and my opponent did that very phenomenally, and he deserved this win 100%. So, GG again to my opponent, Jabel. Thank you for the battle, and I hope we face again, because we are 1-1 now, and we got a little bit of a rivalry going on, you know what I mean? I just hope our third battle was a nice, clean game overall. And he did deserve this win 100%. I do apologize if there are any audio glitches in the battle. I had to re-record my team builder about like 5 times, and it cannot be stuffed to go through the entire battle again and try and fix all the audio glitches or re-record it. I just can't be bothered. So I do apologize for that if the audio is a little bit off for that. But that is going to wrap it up for this video. Next up we face Aramoth. We are 2-1. And they are going to be 3-0, so we fought everybody who hasn't lost yet in this season so far. And the Uber we're going to go up against next week is going to be Marshadow. We're going to be against Marshadow for the first time I've ever done that. I'm really interested to see how this Pokemon works. I don't know what it really does too much besides have like Technician Shadow Sneak. But otherwise, that's going to be next week's battle. Hope you guys are looking forward to that. Thank you guys for watching so much. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you like Pokemon Draft League content, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm gonna head out of here. Have a fantastic day, YouTube.